Welcome back, everybody. Another day, another Don Charles interview. Don Charles interview a couple of days ago where he talked about Derek, the likes of Derek being the thing that is wrong with the black population, or words to that effect. He's come into a lot of criticism since, and I like to think that those sort of remarks have really he's a bit angry, he's a bit bitter, he's had a lot of criticism come his way, and I'd like to think that those sort of comments were just on the back of that, being frustrated, being a bit angry, having a lot of criticism level at him, and the frustration just coming out in the interviews. That's what I'd like to believe. But I'm just watching an interview on Ring Magazine with Don Charles, and he went on a sort of a 5-minute almost monologue about how when he first came into the business, things used to upset him, the things that people said used to get on him, he used to get sort of bitter and angry. He said, but he's learned how the industry works and that doesn't affect him anymore. The things just wash over him. Everybody's got opinions. We might not all agree, but we should be allowed our opinions. Which is just kind of seems a little bit hypocritical on the back of the recent interview I talked about, where he had a little go at the likes of Derek Chisora and people like that. I think it was Derek Chisora and someone else, and he kind of said that's what's wrong with the black population at the moment, or words to that effect. I would argue the likes of Derek is everything that's good. I mean, if you're going to look at things on kind of skin color and race, which I don't at all, but I think Derek's the reason why people love Derek is because Derek is 100% real. He's my kind of guy, Derek. Love him to bits. Mad as a fucking bag of cats, and fucking I like people like that. Derek is not only loved because he's a warrior in the ring, but Derek's also loved because Derek is just an endearing character. Like I said, he's absolutely off his bonds, and you wouldn't want Derek any other way. Derek is an institution for those reasons, let alone, like I said, being a fighter and being a brave fighter he is. But he's a real man, do you know what I mean? He's real. With Derek, what you see is what you get. You never know what you're going to get because Derek could turn up fucking whatever. But Derek is loved by everyone. I would imagine. I don't know anyone in boxing who doesn't like Derek Chisora. I think Derek Chisora is great. He'll be loved forever. It's why he's an institution. So saying that because it's essentially that all I can read from Don is the fact that because Derek didn't just have their backs and blow smoke up their ass because they're the same skin colour, and because he didn't, he's what's wrong with the black population. It's kind of a moronic and asinine argument. And again, I would argue, Derek is, I mean, he might not be everyone's cup of tea in terms of a role model, but he's real. And there's not enough of that in this life. There's not enough real fucking people who don't give a fuck, give no fucks, and are just going to be them 24/7, doesn't matter what. So Derek's a legend. And I said this about Dillian Whyte the other day. Again, Dillian Whyte's misdemeanors aside and the PED stuff aside. Okay, but just on the one-to-one, on the personal, everything I've seen of Dillian, when I've seen him interviewed and everything, I can't help but not like Dillian as well. I think Dillian's fucking great. Then he went on to talk about, he got onto the quitting issue. And he said, now let me just cover my opinion. And again, this is just my opinion. Don't shit the bed in the comments. We can have opinion and disagree, but this is just my opinion. When Daniel was on the floor and he was looking at the referee and looking at his dad or whoever, he was with it and he sat there. He didn't look scrambled towards the middle of the count. He got up on the count 8-9 and he was up sort of to 10, post 10. And he got up and he was perfectly fine. He wasn't scrambling. He walked over to the corner. Now, quitting is a strong word, okay? Quitting indicates sort of taking the decision to not continue in a negative manner. I don't think all that is always true. When Daniel sat out against Joe Joyce with a broken orbital, now he wouldn't have known he had a broken orbital, okay? But he would have known there was something drastically wrong. And I don't hold anything against him at all for that. I don't hold anything against him for choosing to not continue against Usyk. But objectively, he did decide not to go on, and that is quitting, almost by definition. And I mean that not in a disparaging way, not in a disrespectful way, but you were physically able to go on. You weren't mentally able to go on. That's why you elected to take the decision not to go on. So you have to call it quitting objectively. And this is not me shitting on Daniel. But this is just what happened. And we can talk about the towel. Didn't make a difference. Towel come in quite late. But So he chose not to go on. I don't like the word quitting, but I can't think of any other vernacular to describe it. So would say he quit, and there's no shame in that. Okay, there isn't. So I'm not having a go at that, but he did take the decision. He was not unconscious mentis. He was not sparked out. He was not unconscious. He could have got up had he wanted to, and he may have ended up getting stopped, and he may have been saving himself, self-preservation. That's fine, but it's still quitting, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. But Don went on to say that. Well, in UFC, he said to the interviewer on Ring Magazine, he said, in UFC, you see fighters tap out, and he said, is that not quitting? Is that not the same thing? And no, Don, it ain't. In my opinion, again, just my opinion. Again, don't shit the bed. In my opinion, when fighters tap out in MMA, it's because, if they don't tap out, it's unconsciousness next. If they don't tap out, it's a broken arm next. If they don't tap out, it's a broken leg next. Okay? It's not the same as Daniel Dubois electing to stand and let fate take its course when the fight is resumed. They're very different things in my opinion, So I would like to give Don the benefit of the doubt, and I would like to think Don doesn't really think that way about Derek. And I can't remember who else it was. Another black fighter, I think. But I'd like to think Don doesn't think that way. And he's just bitter at the fact that Derek and a few others have said things that he finds disparaging against his fighter, and that's fine. But I hope Don doesn't really think like that. Because do we need to be going down a route of skin colour and labeling that at someone from your own skin colour, whatever your own heritage? Do you know what I mean? Do we need to go there? Do we need to bring that in? Can't Don just say they're welcome to their opinion? That's it. As he did in this interview. In this interview, he said people are welcome to their opinions. They should have their opinions, and we should be able to disagree respectfully. Well, that's the complete opposite of what you've done already. So Don's not doing himself any favours, is he? He's rapidly becoming the bitterest man in boxing, and he probably doesn't care, and that's absolutely fine. You don't give a fuck what people say, and that's a great attitude to have in a lot of degrees. But yeah, let me know what you think. See you all soon.